The Japanese village of Asuka is home to several huge megalithic structures that have their origins in the tumulus period of 250 to 550 AD. Their exact purpose is something which remains unexplained to this day. So far, the main theory from researchers suggests that some of the giant megaliths, which have patterns carved onto their surfaces, were likely to have been used as sacrificial altars. Perhaps the most interesting example of these megaliths is named Sakafune Ishi. Its surface has strange grooves and tracks that researchers believe may have been used to run or strain liquids such as water, wine, blood, or even drugs that may have assisted in ritual purposes. The largest of the carved stones is known as Masuda no Iwafune, which is said to be 2,500 years old. This massive stone is 36 feet long and 26 feet wide, with a height of over 15 feet. The huge stone is carved from one whole solid piece of granite, and estimates suggest it could weigh at least 800 tons. While there are many ancient stoneworks around the world which are much more visually impressive, what makes these stones amazing is the granite that was used in all of the structures is extremely solid. Even with modern technology, it's very difficult to make any kind of engravement on its surface. This then raises the question as to how the people living over 2,000 years ago, with the limited tools that researchers believe they had access to, managed to carve the structures and detail them with decorative patterns. And not only do we not know what the Asuka stone's actual purpose was, or indeed who actually carved them, but modern science can't even figure out how exactly they were made. India is home to many unique ancient temples. All of them are admired for their marvellous architecture, which dates back thousands of years. Some of the most puzzling examples are cut from a single giant rock or into a mountainside cave. The intricacy of their design, construction, and stonework is completely baffling to scientists, who still can't figure out how exactly such amazing stoneworks were created. The perfectly carved structures display so many intriguing details, and some even have columns that are perfectly symmetrical with each other. Some of these columns even show signs of possible ancient lathe technology, indicated by the grooves. However, this can't be confirmed since there are no remains of any such machines. Researchers also agree that most of the statues and decorative carvings within and outside of the temples were carved from one mass of solid rock, rather than being created in multiple pieces off-site and then being assembled at the temple. All we're currently aware of is that workers in that period of history would have had access to chisels and hammers, but experts believe that these kinds of tools could not have been used to make some of the smaller and hollowed details, nor would it have been possible to get such perfectly symmetrical results by hand alone. So we think anyway. So the mystery remains. What tools and techniques did they use to achieve this kind of architectural excellence? And from who did they learn them? During a 1991 Ural Mountains expedition, geologists led a search for gold deposits on the banks of Russia's Kozym River. After digging to depths of over 30 feet, they discovered something far more surprising. What they uncovered were multiple tiny coils and springs scattered and embedded amongst all the deep layers of dirt. Why they found this particularly strange was because the area and depth they were excavating showed no signs of being disturbed for hundreds of thousands of years. The largest of these tiny coils measured 1.18 inches, but the smallest was just 1/10,000th of an inch, which is around 40 times thinner than an average human hair. These minuscule discoveries were sent to the Russian Academy of Science in St. Petersburg so that they could go under extensive analysis in hope of giving some answers to what they actually were and to find a clue as to where they came from. After looking at the tiny objects under a microscope, it was revealed that their shape indicated that they were a manufactured technology as opposed to a naturally occurring mineral. The smallest of the objects were found to be made up of a combination of copper and tungsten. Tungsten being a metal which is commonly used in spacecraft and missile technology due to its ability to handle high temperatures. Some theories suggested that the origins of the tiny coils might be debris left behind from secret test rockets, which could have been launched from the nearby Plesetsk space station. However, a report from the Moscow Institute determined that this was not the case, since the coils were far too old to have come from modern manufacturing. In 1996, Dr. Matveyeva from the Moscow-based Central Scientific Research Department of Geology and Exploitation of Precious Metals concluded that despite being thousands of years old, the components are of a technological origin. Many questions have been raised since the discovery. If these were the debris of a crash of some kind, why are there no other signs of the wreckage? If it was a past civilization, who were they? How were they able to make such tiny components? And what was their purpose? Is this simply a case where classified modern technology has been mistaken for being many years older? Or could these mysterious coils have some kind of otherworldly origin? At more than 2,000 years old, the Longyou Caves are a group of human-created sandstone caverns located in the village of Xianbikeng in the Zhejiang province of China. The caves had been left untouched and in almost perfect condition for thousands of years, until in 1992, when a local man decided that he would test the validity of the local myths. The myths that referred to the local ponds as being bottomless. The local man managed to convince his village community to let him use a hydraulic pump to drain the ponds. A task that took 17 days but paid off when they discovered the expansive hand-dug cave complex. Amazingly and equally strange, these caves were not recorded in any historical documents. So researchers have no idea of why they were made, how exactly they were made, and under whose orders. What was also puzzling is why there was no life found in the ponds. No plants and no fish were found inside the drained caves. Some theories suggest that the caves could have been used as a secret hiding place, which would explain why there were no records kept of their existence. Another theory suggests that they may have once been used by the villagers to hide during extreme weather, since the area is prone to natural disasters, but this would not explain why they were kept a secret. In total, there are 36 caves altogether, collectively covering a floor area of over 320,000 square feet. That's nearly 6 times as much floor space as the entire White House. The caves are believed to have been hand-dug, making them one of the largest ancient excavation tasks ever undertaken in human history, that we know of at least. These mysterious caverns have been carved into solid siltstone, and they each descend at least 98 feet deep into the ground. It's estimated that with the average human digging rate taken into consideration, this amount of rubble, with the tools of those times, would take at least 1,000 people working 24 hours non-stop for 6 years to remove. This is equal to a staggering 52.5 million working hours. This amount of time doesn't even take into consideration the internal engineering and decoration that took place. Each of the caves has multiple rooms, bridges, pools, and sophisticated gutter systems, all of which would have added a lot more time onto completing this impressive task. With so many questions and no records to help us find answers, it's very likely that the Longyou Caves will remain a mystery forever.